Have you heard of Judy Hevenly? I guess most of us never heard this name before. From 2020, this lady started to make her prediction of the following year and published on her website. Unlike other prophets, she made a super long and detailed prediction list. After I read her prediction of 2022, I have to say, although there were some wrong predictions, but most of them became true. If you googled her, it seemed like not that much info from her in English content, but lots of results jumped out in other languages. I should say she is much more famous in Asia than in US. As I mentioned before, I will use the lens of science to see our world. So today, let's see what I can dig out from her. The first time I heard of Judy was from the popular Chinese YouTube channel Mr. and Mrs. Gao. This channel is about telling all sorts of stories, and they are really good at it. As they are good at telling stories, so you have to consider all of these contents are stories instead of some solid info. In the video, there are not so many details of her forecast as it's a lot. So after that, I found her website, and as I mentioned before, I went through all of her forecast of 2022, which was made in 2021. Well, I cannot make any comment of her forecast back to the time, as they were not happening yet. So I simply left it there until recently. I watched Mr. and Mrs. Gao videos again. Yeah, they mentioned her name again, and as a guy with infinite curiosity, I googled Judy Hevenly again and reviewed her 2022 predictions. Let's have a close look of what she predicted back to 2022. Again, as she predicted very detailed, so she had to split the predictions into different chapters, which are US predictions, world predictions, California politics, 94th Academy Awards, economy, business, technology, sports, British royalty, Hollywood, celebrities, disasters, health. As it's too much info, let's mainly focus on the world chapter, and I will digest some interesting ones. So let's start. A troubling year for Prime Minister Boris Johnson of England. He will work hard to impose party discipline, and Sir Graham Brady will play a central part in British politics. Boris Johnson could step down. Chancellor Rishi Sunak of the Conservatives, Liz Truss, Foreign Secretary, or Jeremy Hunt could replace him. Pretty much accurate. The prediction of Boris Johnson's step down is the highlight. A hard Brexit could end UK's growth in 2022. Accurate one. Newly built trains in England will run entirely on hydrogen-emitting water. Accurate but not difficult to predict if you read enough news. Europe's economy is set to slow down because of the rise of COVID cases with supply shortages and inflation. Accurate but not that difficult to predict. Asia will see good progress with the COVID pandemic. India and Vietnam will ease restrictions and rebuild their economies. But Northern and Eastern Europe COVID-19 cases will still rise, forcing those European governments to implement harsh rules to protect its people. Accurate. Russia and China and North Korea getting bolder against US and other countries. Xi is re-elected CCP General Secretary of China. Accurate, and I remembered clearly she modified this part as in the end of 2021 she didn't spell Xi's name correct. This is a hard one to predict. The Chinese will make their move on Taiwan, and the US will be helpless because of the debts they owe to China. And it will be disastrous for US and the global economy, and everyone will have to adjust to a more difficult relationship with that country. Not so clear of the prediction, but mostly true. Again, easy and general. Putin will try to destroy the independent state of Ukraine and get rid of NATO to cement Russia's role as a rival to the West. United Kingdom will have to choose between gas from Russia or Ukraine, and Putin will provoke Ukraine by a show of military power. Pretty much accurate and also a bit difficult to predict. Unexpected illness of Vladimir Putin and protests, uprising and unrest in his country. Well, we don't know that much of Mr. Putin, but rest of the things are accurate. There will be change of leadership in Russia or a possible coup to remove Vladimir Putin. There were lots of leadership changing due to the war. Kim Jong-un of North Korea will rattle the US with his military moves and engendering the world. Well, he did this as always, so I guess everyone who reads some news can predict this. Emmanuel Macron will struggle for military at parliamentary elections in 2022 and will receive help from Edouard Philippe, his ex-prime minister, and will win presidential election in France again. Accurate, and it's a hard one to predict. Mario Draghi to stay on as a prime minister of Italy. Wrong. Canada's economy is still in good standing despite supply chain disruptions that affect other global countries are affecting Canada with exports down 15%. Alberta in Canada cuts its corporate tax to the lowest in Canada. Pretty much accurate. On the Maori New Year in June, the Prime Minister of New Zealand will make it a public holiday. Accurate. Major floods in parts of Europe and fires in Australia, Canada, and other parts of the world. I considered all these type of predictions as bullshit, as the predicted area are huge. It will definitely happen something there. Mexico helps to enforce the Stay in Mexico rules for migrants wishing to enter the United States. But Democrats will open a path to citizenship for the Mexican illegal who have been in US for years. Mexico will build the US Embassy in Mexico. Clear prediction and accurate result. Philippines presidential race is won by Bongbong Marcos. Correct. Hard to predict. Brazil's new president will be Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Correct. Hard to predict. Biden's administration will succeed in talks with Tokyo to remove partial or full duties on Japanese steel and aluminum tariffs. Accurate. German government to make the country more open to migrants with new ways for asylum seekers to legally come into Germany, including humanitarian visas. Accurate. Hard to predict. Japan become a nuclear weapon nation. I believe they have it a long time ago. Both Palestinians and Jordanians will unite to fight climate change. Jordan's solar energy will be sold to the Israeli and Palestinian grids, and solar-powered Israeli desalination plant could cease Jordan's water shortage. Quite general, and there is a typo which should be is. Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi will draw closer to China, India, and Russia, with its oil sales profiting, and could offer China's navy the use of its island in the Gulf. So if there were a military showdown between China and the West, it would be in the Gulf of Aden. If Iran's supreme leader Khamenei is hospitalized, his reign would pass to his son Murtaba or Mr. Raisi. Quite interesting prediction and should be considered as correct. New sightings and several landings of unknown lights and objects are observed on and above Earth, Moon, and the solar system planets, and also in Mexico. Correct. The Saudis will move further away from America, their security guarantor for military and economic purposes. Ties with China will become more important. Correct. More cooperation between Saudis and Israel cybersecurity, which Saudis need for their country. Correct. South Korea's presidential winner will be Yoon Suk-yeol in 2022. Correct and very hard to predict. Gabriel Boric, new president of Chile in 2022. Correct and very hard to predict. Terrorist attacks around the world in Europe targeting London, Egypt, France, New York, Germany, places of worship both in US and UK with US malls, theme parks, and an airline may be hijacked. This is again bullshit as the scope is too general. So, after I checked all of her predictions, 2 out of 39 are wrong, and 8 of them are very hard to predict. So, her overall accurate ratio is 95%. Quite impressive, right? And if you check her US-related prediction, the accurate ratio will become even higher. So do I believe her? Does she have superpower? Let me break down. First, there are only some typos which has been modified from the website during the year, and the predictions are not changed even it's a wrong prediction. Second, her predictions are really details which does not like other prophets. Here I have to mention about other prophets as it's so easy to take them down from common sense. Those famous prophets like to predict things in a very generous scope. For example, I can even make one by myself. In 2023, I predict in the southeast part of Earth there will be some natural disasters. Okay, that's a huge area of land, and I believe definitely something happened there in 2023. Excuse me to hurt the people's feeling who live there. Back to Judy, you can see she did this type of general predictions as well, but not that much. The general prediction from her are mainly from those countries which has not so much connection with US government or beneficial relations. I guess you start to find some clue. Third, there are some very accurate predictions which basically can be easily forecast by reading related project plan from related government. For example, there will be new hydrogen train in UK. We can do this forecast by reading a lot of useless projects plans. Finally, I was really shocked by her global election forecast, as it is really hard to forecast so accurate. Actually, she only made one mistake out of 7 global leadership forecasts. That's amazing. You know how hard to predict correctly all of these. But back to a recent podcast from Joe Rogan with geopolitical analyst Peter Zeihan, I think I found some clues. With this podcast, I was shocked by the US government intelligence collection and analysis ability. They know so well of their enemies and their allies, and output a lot of information that even the enemies themselves don't even know. Back to Judy Hevenly. From her website, we can see she has quite good connection in the Hollywood and upper class in US, and doing this reading and horoscope for them for tens of years. You can imagine she can get lots of information, and guess what? She might have quite good connection with Epstein too. You probably will ask, why these smart rich people believe her? I have to say, in that society, there are lots of these type of people, and they are usually quite good at psychology and how to read people's mind instead of psychic. So, based on above analysis, I should say she is more of a smart psychologist with brilliant social skills instead of having psychic ability. But I found one thing is interesting. Her charge of readings is really not that much compared with her ability and famous level. Again, there is always very small chance that she is actually a psychic with real psychic power. We should always be open-minded. In the end, I quote one reviews from her client. I can honestly say Judy has made other people rich and enjoy doing it. I would recommend her to be your personal and business intuitive. She is one of the best secrets in Hollywood and London. Joseph S., Publicity Agent, Hollywood, CA. You know, this review inspired me, as she had so many connections and usually predict quite accurate, probably because of her internal source. Why not to use this as a good reference? After that, I checked her 2023 predictions, and I can see she's quite confident of the economy recovery and even predicted several stocks. If you checked her horoscope of 2023, she predicted all of the constellations will have a positive outcome from their career or business before she becomes so famous. Maybe we should give it a try as an investment advice.